welcome back to the Always Reading Book Club. It is your girl Kiki Reader. And guess what? I decided to do a standalone. So today's book is going to be An Indecent Proposition by Stephanie Julian. So this is going to be a little different than our normal love stories. So let's dive right in. So we have two best friends. Their names are Eric Riley, Keegan Malone, and they have been friends since boarding school. So they both come from, pretty good, wealthy families. They own a company together called Timin Biometrics, and it's a security tech company, basically, would be the best way to describe it. So about 3 years ago, Eric was burned like really badly in a fire at their lab. So like half of his face, like most of part of his body, it's like it's a little, badly burned. So he's had about 5 reconstructive surgeries, and finally he was just like, you know what? These are too painful. I'm never gonna look the way I did before, so just stop. Well, then that also made him a total recluse. It looks like I have a thing for recluse people. So we got another recluse. And so now, before, Eric was like the one that was always going out. He was like the face of the company, going to the events. Well, now everything's kind of had to switch because Eric's staying in the house and he'll go to the lab. But that's pretty much it. He's not trying to do anything else. So Keegan now is now doing a role that he's not really comfortable with because he prefers to be in the background. But somebody's got to be the face of the company. So that's his job now. So while they're at a company function, Eric is looking through the monitors and he sees Julian-Part. And so he immediately wants her. She's one of the staff catering the event. So they had to do all this information to find out about her. So they talked to Carol, who was the event planner and is also friends with them. And they find out that, her mother was really sick. She had cancer at one point, and there's massive medical bills. So at one point, her mother was married to her father, but he left when she got a double mastectomy, and he started cheating on her, and he wiped them out and left and went with some other woman. So he's a scumbag. So they of course are they run it, give Carol the offer, okay, listen, we'll give her $500,000 for one night. And so basically Eric he was just going to watch, he'll just watch. He just wants to watch Keegan fuck Julianne. So this is where we start. So Julianne pulls up. She's got a 15-year-old Toyota. She pulls up to this mansion. Now, it does look a little sad, lonely, but she was told to kind of expect creepy. So she wore a trench coat with lingerie underneath. And so an old man answers the door, and she wanted to bolt because she thought that was him. And then he says, "Oh, Mr. Smith will meet you in the drawing room." So she was like, "Oh, okay, good." Because if it was that old man, she's like, "I wasn't doing it for that." So she gets to the room and she sees this tall, gorgeous man. And she's like, why in the world would he have to pay for sex? That's what she's thinking in her head. She doesn't say it out loud, but she's thinking in her head, why in the world would he have to pay? And she's thinking is something wrong with him? She's just trying to figure it out because she's one of those people that she loves a good puzzle. So she's gonna figure it out, And so Eric, of course, is hiding in the shadows. And so she can't see him. And she realizes as she walks in the room, how massive this room is. And the first thought that pops in her brain is someone could hide in these shadows. I'd never know it. So she comes in the room. He, of course, is oh my gosh, you're beautiful. You're gorgeous. Eric, of course, same thing. And immediately he was hard, and he wanted to go and just take her. He was like, scars be damned. He wanted her. So Keegan offers her a drink. I think she said, just give me a white wine. Takes her coat. And remember, all she has on underneath is just lingerie. And so she heard a man's sharp intake of breath. but she couldn't see anyone else in the room. And so then he asked her, she knew it didn't come from the guy that just gave her the drink. So she's like thinking, somebody's got to be in here, right? So he got her drink, and she was about to ask him something else when he just kind of grabbed her neck and kissed her. This was Keegan. And it was a deep, passionate kiss, of course. And she, of course, was turned on, just completely turned on. And she went to like touch her pussy, and he was like, I didn't tell you you could touch that. And I was like, oh shit, he's a dumb. I love that. That's hot. So then he told her he wanted to watch her make herself come. And he asked her, he's like, do you need a vibrator? And she's like, well, yeah. She's like, because I know that's really the only way I make myself come. So he's like, do you want an internal one or external? And she was like, external. So she started using the vibrator, got all swept up in the moment. And when she opened her eyes, Keegan's dick was about to pop out of his pants. So he told her to like suck him off. And he was like, don't worry. He's like, I will return the favor. And so she started sucking him, and he was like wanting to come in her mouth. He has like a Scottish accent, so that's hot too. So you just got to imagine that. So he comes in her mouth, and she still has the vibrator on her clit, and so then she herself explodes. So while they came fantastically, so did Eric in the shadows. He came all over his hand. Some of it even went down his leg, so a lot of cum. So his libido hasn't been too much pretty much since the accident, but like him watching Keegan take her is just like, even though it was just that, it was just like, oh my gosh, it was just so much to him. Like he just loved it. And so he, of course, in his mind, he's like, he wanted to like take her in the ass, and he wanted Keegan to like take her pussy. He just was like, he wanted to do that so bad. So they have a history, okay, as you would probably surmise by what's going on. They sleep with girls together. Like that's what they do. They've done it since college. They found out they were great at it, and word went around school, and they, of course, over the years, they've become great. So they take women together. So he, of course, didn't have enough oomph to come out of the shadows yet, right? Because he still doesn't want her to see him. So while they're basking in the glow of their orgasm, Jules, which is what Keegan now calls her, and I like it better, so that's what she's going to get called, Jules, from now on. So Jules says, are you going to introduce me to the other person in the room? Or are we just going to keep pretending that no one else is here? And so Keegan says, I'm not going to make him come out. It's up to him to introduce himself. And so she said out loud, well, I need my panties back because I'm cold. So apparently she clearly is very observant. So she had took her panties off, and clearly she knew, like, okay, where did my shit go? So Eric yells from the shadows, you might not like what you see. And she's like, you just want to watch your friend fuck me? And Eric replies, if that's okay with you, if not, I can leave if that's what you would prefer. And she tells him, I don't want you to leave. I want to see you. And then Eric comes out of the shadows. And that was a very metaphorical thing as well. I love that, because that was like, physically he was coming out of the shadows, but you could kind of tell that was a new thing for him, because he didn't come around new people. He didn't do these things. So this was, this was the big deal. So Eric comes out, and he's watching her face because he wants to see the minute the horror hits. And she does make like a small confused look, but she keeps staring at his eyes because he has beautiful eyes. And she then asks, can I touch your face? And he was shocked because no one had ever asked him that. And so he allows her to touch him. And then she's like, how long ago did this happen? And he tells her, it's been, 3 years ago, tells her about the surgeries and things like that. And she kind of was like, I understand. My mom had the same situation, not this situation, but when she had, surgery, due to her cancer. So I can kind of understand that with those surgeries and not want to go through that pain. So she kept asking questions because, again, she just wants to know, and it's understandable, And he was starting to get offended, you know, because he started kind of being snarky with her, because it's like, I'm paying you for one thing. I don't really want to get deeper than that. You know, he didn't want to have to answer these questions. So she asked him, you know, how long has it been since you've been with anyone? And, you know, have you even been in with anyone since the accident? And he was like, he hasn't. And so he was like, it still works if that's what you want to know. And he was getting snarky. Keegan like pushed him and was like, dude, like, what the fuck? Like, what is wrong with you? So she was like, you know, calm down. Everything's cool. You know, let's just start all over. He was still kind of being a little snarky. And he was just kind of like, what do you want to do? Shake hands or something? And she's like, no. But she said, but did you come earlier? And he said, yep, right in my hand. And she tells him, well, next time I want to watch you come. And he, however, was shocked, because he was like, well, damn, he didn't expect her to say that. So she asked him about sharing girls, and, you know, they told her the whole story about from college. And then, of course, she asked, you know, are you two bisexual? And they're like, nope, we just simply enjoy sharing women. And so, you know, they like being in the room together, as, you know, they know each other person. They knows what the other person like. I don't know. This is what they were saying. Like, this is like their thing. Like, they get off watching the other person fuck the woman and being inside them at the same time. It's just something that does something for them. But they don't consider them, they're not bisexual. They just like women. So she was still confused. I was too, but you know what? We're just going to let it ride. Then Jules asked Eric, so if you take your clothes off and you fuck me on the couch, will he get just as much satisfaction as you? And Keegan was like, hell yeah. So Eric is like 10 inches long, 3 inches thick. So he's a great size. So of course, she eventually, like, she takes it all, working her way down. And she at first was, like, taking too long. Let me rephrase that. She was taking too long at first. So he, like, snatched the condom and was like, we finna get this going. And so he, like, make her, like, take the whole thing. And it was a sexy scene to read. Let me just tell you that. So he does that whole thing of, like, talking to her while he's fucking her. And that's hot. That is super hot. And he's saying stuff that he's like, no one else sees you, but I see you. I see the type of woman you are. It was crazy. It was great. So she loses it. She comes hard. So does he. So Keegan was about to leave when she told him, where are you going? I want you naked too. And she wanted both of them inside her at the same time, but she didn't know how to say it. And they, of course, could tell something was going on in her head. So she got her wish. Keegan was in her pussy. Eric was in her ass. And they all had an explosive orgasm. So Jules and Keegan, they went in the shower. And they started fucking again. Eric was conflicted about interrupting them, because he knew that if he came in there, Keegan would know just how much he actually really liked this woman. And so, and would pull back, because that's how Keegan is. If he knows that's what Eric wants, he's going to pull back. And so as he's watching Keegan like slow fuck Jules, he's getting hard as a rock. And so Jules opens her eyes and she sees him. Keegan yells out, should we let him in here? So he goes in, Keegan pulls out, Eric starts eating her pussy, and then he starts to fuck her, and then Keegan joins in. He takes her ass, and then after this, they had like a little spat. And then like Keegan punches Eric. And he was being snarky again, because that's what he does. It's like a defense mechanism. That's what he does. And so Jules was like, do you feel better now? And Eric just wanted to like let Keegan, let out his frustrations, because he's known Eric a long time. And clearly, I'm quite sure a lot of things with them aren't said, especially in this difficult 3 years. So yeah, they've got some pent up shit for real. So she says she's about to leave, and they say in unison, like, don't go. But she said, I gotta go home. Her mother, tomorrow was gonna be Christmas Eve, and they felt like they couldn't ask her to stay after she said that. So she leaves.